Alright.
Hi guys, thank you for coming. So this is my presentation for my training and assessor course, and my first presentation is work effectively with diversity. We are a diverse group here, so that's very interesting, and I will ask you some questions somewhere along the line, so I would like you guys to write any questions down if you've got any questions, and then just give me some feedback on my presentation. I'll appreciate that. And I hope you're actually going to enjoy the subject. I spent quite a bit of time trying to make it interesting. I don't want to tell you anything that you already know. So you probably already know most of it, but maybe just giving it another thought might be quite interesting for you. So, starting with my first, there's going to be two presentations following each other. We'll have a 15-minute break in between, and I've got some chocolate cake and cheesecake and some nice coffee as a thank you for coming to support me, and I really appreciate that. My second talk will be on behaviors of concern, which the people from the Dementia Award would know all about and probably can contribute quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Just a bit of housekeeping. My toilet is just the second door, or the second door there on the right, and we all know where the exit is if there's a fire. Hopefully not. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, just enjoy it. So hopefully it won't go over time, and hopefully I will give you something interesting. So, if this works with me. Oh, that's good. The arrow wants me to. So the objective of this little unit that I'm offering you is first to just talk about people with diversity and how to understand people, how to recognize that there are differences between cultures, in different areas, not just cultures, which I will be going into. And then, as we all are leaders, we are all people that contribute to our workplace and contribute to, where we are in our social lives. So just to help people, to help other people to understand each other better. So perhaps this will contribute to that as well. So when I was little, I was born in Africa, as most of you know, and Namibia, which is in one country of Africa, it's not the whole of Africa. And as a little girl, I experienced quite a lot of diversity. As my parents are from two different social backgrounds. My mom's from a very wealthy family, and my dad was from a very, very poor family. So the diversity within the social background was massive. As well as my dad is a coloured man. He was from the Western Cape, in the north of the Western Cape, which is an area called Namakwa land, and he was it's a culture in their own. And my mum is her family is quite affluent. My great-grandfather was the cousin to the first prime minister, one of the first prime ministers in South Africa. So there's this massive social differences between my mum and dad, which contributed to me understanding this subject particularly well. Then, as well as the different cultures, my dad being from a very unique culture, and my mum being from the Dutch and French background, which is massive in the cultural differences. And then, because my dad was working on the railways and we grew up very, very poor, we also moved around. We stayed in 9 towns in Namibia. As a little girl, we moved, before I was 13, we stayed in 9 little towns in Namibia. And then we moved to South Africa. So I have in my young life had to adjust and get to know new people all the time. There was always new kids to get to know. And there was this aspect of, making new friends and social backgrounds and social diversity. And then, like I said earlier, the same aspect from the with the financial differences between my mum and dad, there's also the social differences, and within the family there was massive differences. So that also played a massive role for me understanding this. So yeah, my dad worked on the railways. He was a conductor. He used to drive in the back, the last carriage and they always used to hang out, and they had to jump out and change over the signal before the electronics and things came. And we used to call that the ape carriage, because that's what the apes do. they hang on the baboons, they're very naughty. They would hang on the train, when the train stops, they would hang like that. So we used to call him an ape, which is actually quite provocative, because it's actually an insult really, but it was kind of like a funny thing, because that's what they do, the apes anyways. So yes, touching on these different types of cultural diversity, the social class, economical diversity, as we know, the third world countries are often, there's a massive gap between rich and poor. So there is that huge economical diversity in third world countries. The racial diversities, we all experience. This is a global village we live in now. We meet people from different races all the time. There's religion that's playing more and more a bigger role now, with Islam and fights between Christians and Islam, and it goes on. There's always been issues with, actually in diversity, it's probably one of the areas that's probably the main reason for most of the wars, if not the reason, because of all these differences. So we, with languages, and like I was saying, with family, because, we could be both from a European background, like my husband and I. We are both perhaps from a European background, but I do things differently than what he has learned to do it. He grew up in a British culture where they do it the British way, where they're more polite. My Afrikaans background is a lot more abrasive. We like silly jokes, and we're a bit like the Aussies in some ways. Sometimes we can be quite sarcastic, and people can misunderstand that. For us, it's just being funny, or we're just being social, But yeah, that's the differences within one family you can experience. So with that in mind, what I'm trying for us to recognize is that when we talk to one another, we hear things through these filters of our culture. When we say things, we say it through these filters of our culture. It's just that encoding and decoding happens. So somebody says something, and the way you hear it, and vice versa. So I made a little drawing to understand the concept that I'm trying to explain. So like the filter we experience is the culture, all those things, social, economical, family, all of those are the filters that we carry, that we have. And when we talk to one another, we actually encode this through these filters. We understand. So, for instance, like I know that the Australians can be sometimes very, they might like insulting, they might, you are just a mess, and what they're actually saying is, you cool, I like you, you're my mate, but you understand, you can misunderstand that. So that's because perhaps from the British culture, you might, that's not proper, that's not the way you talk to one another. So that's the encoding, that's the differences that we can see, and that has an effect on our understanding and being kind to one another. So yeah, and this types can also be called like a mental filter. And all these things that makes the understanding and that has the influence in our lives are called noises. They just, it's like sitting in a room full of people and everyone's talking and you're trying to talk to one another. Sometimes the message can get lost when we're talking to each other in that kind of setup. So that's the same thing that happens when we have this barrier or this filter of our culture in between. Great example that just happened with me at work because there was some misunderstanding because I did not exactly follow or misunderstood what was said, and that was used as an example. I can use it as example, but it was used as an excuse not to have my presentation today at work. But that's fine, I come out the winner anyways. So yeah, information's lost. So that's what happens. Information gets lost because of these noises, because of these filters that we have. Incorrect emphasis. Now this is very interesting because some Australians talk always with a question. And there's always a bit of a question in their emphasis, And sometimes you can wonder, are they really asking a question or are they making a statement? So we talk with a very monotone way of talking as Africans. We have this very monotone. So sometimes we can come across perhaps a bit boring and you might fall asleep while we're talking because we are all in one. There's not
particularly
really...
Queenslanders.
Yeah, you have always this bit of a...
You will find Queenslanders talk by asking questions and things, but you can notice the difference as you move to the southern states. Yeah. South Australia and New South Wales, they're very different. New South Wales you'll find are more like the English side of things, but as you move north, and particularly Queenslanders, we do ask.
Yeah, because we've only been in Queensland, so that's one thing that I have noticed. There's always this bit of a question mark behind every... And sometimes like I was saying, that incorrect emphasis might bring a misunderstanding in what you're actually trying to communicate. So tenses, gender, and abbreviations. Now, I'm not holding anything against Australians. The British does that. They have their abbreviations. We have our abbreviations. I'll go into the servo. What the heck are you talking about? What is the servo? That's abbreviations is, interesting. You have to get to know what it means or maybe ask, because there could be, I'll send you to the servo and you might come back with the bread instead of, fuel in the car or something like that. So
when I lived in the UK, I found that accents also played a big role.
Oh yeah.
The person was speaking English, but I couldn't even understand the word they were saying. So trying to...
accents is definitely can come to that list. Very good. Yeah, you can add it there. So, gender, that's interesting. Now I've noticed that with the Filipinos, they might call a he a she, or because there's something about maybe in their language. I haven't asked, but perhaps I think
I asked Marge once, because she does it in handover. She's going he, but it's a girl, and I think their Filipino word is a bit back to front, and when they translate it to English, it comes out back to front. Is that right? He and she?
Not really.
A lot of them saying he when they're talking about a woman.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. They get it always switched back to front.
Yeah. I think the Germans have male and female verbs. Yeah. Which is very interesting.
And so does French. Everything is male and female.
Yes. So even when you translate, like a Filipino might look at it, you're white and you're all white. Why are you so different? But we are different. That's why we're having this talk, because we have differences even amongst each other. So these are all these noises. The very interesting little slide is like. Yeah, but us, I think this in Australia as well, this is okay. So like in the UK, you say this is okay. In Russia, it's 0. we would probably show it like that.
Yeah.
In Japan, it's money. In Brazil, it's an insult. No, I wouldn't want to know what insult that is. Perhaps you can show, what's her name, Lily, next time.
And ask her what that
Ask her what that means. She might be able to tell you. So yeah, just a little, just mannerisms, language, things like that. It's just understanding that. So how can we try to build on this? How can we improve this? So communicating directly is one of our first keys and one of our first clues, and we all can work on that. And the Dutch would say, I would say, for instance, how are you? And you'd reply, I'm good, thank you. Full sentence. You ask a guy from the UK, he'd say, oh, not too bad, mate, not too bad. And sometimes this could be like, what do you mean? What is bad?
What's wrong?
What's wrong? Australians would say good day in the beginning of when they greet you, good day. We normally say good day when we leave somebody as a well wish. Have a good day. You say it in the beginning and it means hello, how are you? Where for us it is, okay, you have a good day. You go on your way, at the end of it. Then hierarchy, so that's the different things. We all know, like in the third world countries particularly still, there's this gender, male dominance, or the world view as a more male world view, where that, the older you are, perhaps the more status you have. I suppose a bit within the South Sea Islanders and the Aborigine culture is the same, that hierarchy type communication. So they would find it hard to speak to a woman, for instance, to take orders from a woman. Especially also seniority, if you are the manager, find it hard to communicate with somebody like that. Because in your culture, you just don't approach somebody like that. You just, it's sort of avoided.
Yeah.
Time, that's an interesting one. We have this thing we say now. I see you now. Now that could mean anything. It could mean now, it could mean an hour, it could mean in 3 hours. The Australians are quite laid back, so they're not too bad with that. They would just go, I'll see you later. And it could be any time. It could be any time. When you talk to a German and you tell them, I see you now, you better be there now. That, it's the actual word. It's the time that it should happen. So there is quite a bit of interesting conflict sometimes within that when that's misunderstood of what that time is. And then avoidance conflict. I'm not a person, I don't like conflict. I avoid it completely. I'll just get quiet if I would try to be as diplomatic as I can to get my message across. But I do try to, I would not get into a screaming match, I would not do that. So that, except for with my husband, that's a different story. So those are ways we can deal with those. Another little picture just with different cultures, understanding, just not making eye contact. We might, in the Western culture, or we might see that as rude. Somebody's not attentive enough, or, they're not honest. They're not making eye contact. But in some of the Eastern cultures, that is actually a way of respect. That's, you just don't do that. You show in somebody else that you respect them by not making eye contact. Personal space for different cultures, it's different. Some people can come a bit too close for my liking sometimes, so that space is different from culture to culture, and we have to try to understand that. Then responding, the emotional responses people have, and that are different. There's non-verbal communications. Just our complete interpretation between cultures are sometimes so hugely different. So all of those factors which is a lot, and I won't be going into all of those details, but those are basically probably also only some of the factors within cultures that are so different, that can play such a huge role in our communications. Courtesies, rituals, roles, customs, relationships, practices. How are you expected to behave? You know, if my children didn't listen, they got a clout behind the head. You know, it's because you would talk to your elderly with respect. That's what you do. We do not call, we find it hard to call somebody older than us by their first name. We call them auntie and uncle. So that's, you know, that's something we had to adjust to when we came to Australia, to, you know, still be respectful but call somebody by their first name. I mean, I think there's some of the older culture in Australia even that still call Mr. and Mrs. They still have that respect.
Well, I
you know?
still call my auntie and uncle, even though I've been told by them, because I'm nearly as old as them now, don't call me auntie and uncle. But I was brought up like that, and they're still Auntie Sue and Uncle Robin, so I just can't change that.
You can't change that.
You see, with us, it's different, because it doesn't matter if you're family. If you are older, say 10 years is the limit. Actually, if you are 10 years older than me, I call you auntie or uncle.
Yeah.
That's how we were raised.
You just can't take it out of your system, I don't think. Anyway.
That was a culture shock for me, coming to Australia the first time. It was a 4-year-old boy coming, and his mother actually said, "Oh, this is Antoinette." And I thought, excuse me, but that's the way it is.
It's the way they bring them up now. Yeah.
It's still
And
like
now
that
it's
here
not-
too.
Yeah.
We don't even worry about it now.
I still do. Like, I've known a lady for 50 years. I'm 60, she's 90, and I can't call her anything but Mrs. White. I would die. She's told me 1,000 times, call me Janet, call me Janet. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Just can't
respect.
do.
It's that,
If you have that respect for somebody, you do that.
Also, the other thing, we don't use the word you. When we talk to somebody older than us, we call them I, which is actually you, but it's a more formal you.
Yeah, it's a formal.
So when you talk to somebody older than you or somebody in a higher position than you call them on this formal you.
It's actually your majesty.
Yeah, almost.
It's like,
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you use, and it's just one letter, U, but it's pronounced U, and it's, you know, there's a bit of respect. When you use that word, immediately somebody will understand you respect them.
Okay.
So, so that's the different thoughts around that. Yeah. We're a global village now. We are all mixed up everywhere. I don't think there's a country in the world
that's just
that is just the people from that country. I don't think there is any place. We are all mixed up everywhere. We need to learn to embrace each other and, you know, embrace these things. So then I go to the second part of my lesson. So saying, just to recap on the first section, was just to recognize that there are differences and to respect the differences. And the second part is to provide leadership. Now, we don't have to be in a leadership position to provide leadership. We do provide leadership to each other when we help each other to understand something, and to because we love one another, or, you know, because we look out for one another, we sort of would come in alongside somebody and say, hey, you know, you should be careful not to do it like that, or, you know, that person might take offense if you say that, you know, just, that's, you know, what we naturally do anyway. So that's why we have to sort of be a bit more aware of this differences and diversities. Keep an open mind. Try to learn as much as you can of other cultures. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to go into their customs and their ways they, you know, celebrate things, what they celebrate within their families. I love the Filipino culture. I think they've got the most hospitable culture ever. They would always want to feed you. They always want to you know,
That
have
reminds
family and
Yeah.
It reminds me of a Filipino man at work who always used to invite me every week when we got off work for fish head soup. At first, I thought that sounds disgusting. I could never eat fish head soup. What is that? And then, but I honored him by going there. And even though in my back of my mind I thought this is going to be disgusting, but I'll honor him and try it. It was fabulous. It was the most amazing soup that I've had. It was full of flavor, a beautiful texture. It was absolutely divine.
It's a horrible name.
Yeah, just
the best you throw away.
but he made it out of fish heads.
Yeah. What else can you call it? Yeah.
Okay.
So that's, you know, so getting to know backgrounds of other people and be an active listener. Listen to the clues, listen to the tones of voice. Getting to know Australians has been amazing. It's been amazing to, you know, sort of, I think when you look at adverts in the UK or in America, in Namibia as well, we looked at adverts of people saying, "Good day, mate," and we thought it was so funny that people talk like that. But when you get here and you get to know that, and you know what is the spirit behind it, you know, the spirit of mateship, the spirit of, by the way, sorry, I have to tell you, I saw yesterday I've got approved for my Australian citizenship. So congratulations.
Aussie.
I have to just go and do the ceremony now. So practice active listening. Watch the non-verbal communications, the body language, you know, and things like that. And be personal. Be in touch with people and go and eat their fish soup, you know. That's another thing with culture. People, when they offer you their food, it's actually an honor. You know, the Zambians, they make this kapenta soup, which looks like a bowl full of little fish eyes. It's these tiny little fish, but that's their traditional food. So I found some kapenta the other day. In some shops they sell it as cat food, but the Chinese sell it as well as tiny little fish. And I took it to work for Bernadette, and she's going to make me some kapenta. And it's a huge honor for her to make me kapenta and bring it to me. You know, it's how you get in touch with people. That's how you build relationships with people. And it's really nice, actually. At first I couldn't eat it, but I love it now. So, appreciate that. Appreciate the value. Include people. I remember when I started off, and Leanne will remember that, when we started off in Cumberland a few years ago, we had such a diverse group. We had a lot of Indian girls and Nepalese girls. We had Filipino girls, and we all used to bring our food on a Sunday night. Food plays a huge role, and we used to have this feast every Sunday night when we work together. You know, every second Sunday when we have our weekend together. And Bukwati would bring a little round sweet, what she calls it, sweet, something she calls it. And, you know, we would all share food. And that's, you know, that's amazing when you can include and, you know, contribute by building culture like that. And then teamwork. I mean, naturally, we used to work so well as a team because we appreciate one another, because we you know, we work together like that. And we valued each other. We showing respect. Same thing. Identifying backgrounds, getting to know people, and acting in respect like that. Promote understanding. So it's part of our leadership to understand. That's my grandbaby. She's so good. You know, identifying issues, being considerate, make an effort. And let's be dignified by including one another and being a part of each other's lives, because that's communication. It's our village we're living in now, so communicating respectfully, verbally and non-verbally. And yeah, then if we don't understand, if somebody does say something that we don't understand, ask for help. Ask for translation. Call somebody else in. Ask for help. Ask. Antoinette's laughing at me. I think I have a bit of an issue at the moment. Sorry, Antoinette. I did not prepare this in mind. But yeah, let's try to translate what they're trying to say. So just to recap, so we talked about the barriers, the encoding and decoding. We talked about respecting and understanding, tolerance, and then we talked about getting to know cultures, making a bit of effort of cultures. So that just thinking and getting involved, being involved in cultures, and that was the motive or the view behind this little presentation. So we interact with diverse clients. I suppose this goes over not just with us, with each other, but as well with our clients. We sometimes have clients, Italian clients, or
understatement.
German clients. So to understand. It's a species on its own. Yes. And diverse backgrounds. So to try to maybe apply this and those backgrounds, and then provide leadership and guidance to each other to say, hey, maybe they did not quite mean that. Maybe we misunderstood them. Maybe you just don't know Lynn. She's a great girl. She did not mean to bite your head off.
Which I do quite regularly. Have a short fuse.
No, it's not.
I really love yous anyway. Yeah. Just don't annoy me.
It's just a little thing.
So provide leadership, give each other encouragement and understanding. Thank you very much. We will have a short break. I think I did that in 35 minutes. So, very good. We'll have 15-minute break and then we'll have a next section. Thank you very much.